So I made some pretty broad promises, one of which was that we'd all be enlightened by the end of the class. And I thought we'd handle that first, especially since Jessica, where's Jessica? There, since she has to leave at 12:30, we don't want her to leave halfway through this process. And Maria is going to call on different people to read, okay? So this is what the Buddha said about us being enlightened. So you could all unmute, and then Maria will call on someone to read this.
Okay. Claudine.
To realize that you are already enlightened per Buddha. He said, at this moment, all beings and I awakened together. So it was not just him, it was all the universe. It touched the earth, as earth is my witness. Seeing this morning star, all things and I awakened together.
So the touching the earth came from Mara, who was kind of his doubter, the one who doubted and said, how do you know this? And so he touches the earth and he says, the earth is my witness. And I think that's really interesting. For a long time, I thought it was, I got all this from the earth. The earth taught me this. My experience came from the earth, but it came from within him. And I think that's interesting. Now, and I asked Linda about the morning star. Linda's my wife. And she said there's a tea ceremony that starts in dusk.
I think people might have to mute Kim until it's
okay.
Interfering with the sound.
Thank you.
Sorry.
The tea ceremony starts at night, in the morning before the sun rises. And there's an element to that, to the tea ceremony of trust. And that's where we're going to end up today, with trust and how important trust is. So when you see the morning star, which is before the sun has risen, there's a trust there that the sun is going to rise again. And I think that's really important to this process. So, and I'm not sure of the tense, all things and I awaken together, but there's this trust and a certainty. It's trust and faith are different in Buddhism than they are in some other religions. It's like an absolute certainty that goes beyond any doubt. And here's Suzuki Roshi on the same subject. Maria, you want to call on someone else?
Lisa?
Maybe three different people to read the 3 paragraphs.
So Lisa first, then Becky, and then Elizabeth.
Thank you.
You may say that it is not possible to be ordinary and holy. When you think this way, your understanding is one-sided. In Japanese, we call someone who understands things from just one side a tambankan, someone who carries a board on his shoulder. Because you carry a big board on your shoulder, you cannot see the other side. You think you are just an ordinary human, but if you take the board off, you will understand. Oh, I am Buddha too. How can I be both Buddha and an ordinary human? It is amazing. That is enlightenment.
When you experience enlightenment, you will understand things more freely. You won't mind whatever people call you. Ordinary mind? Okay, I am ordinary mind. Buddha? Yes, I am Buddha. How do I come to be both Buddha and ordinary mind? I don't know, but actually I am Buddha and ordinary mind.
Buddha, in its true sense, is not different from ordinary mind. And ordinary mind is not something apart from what is holy. This is a complete understanding of ourself. When we practice Zazen with this understanding that is true Zazen, we will not be bothered by anything. Whatever you hear, whatever you see, that will be okay. To have this feeling, it is necessary to become accustomed to our practice. If you keep practicing, you will naturally have this understanding. And I can't read that part.
Okay, and this feeling, it will not be just intellectual. You will have this actual feeling. So what's so cool about this to me is that this is not something you acquire. This is something you discover within yourself that you already are. And I think that's really important. The other thing that's just kind of uncanny is I opened the book arbitrarily to this page looking for a quote actually for my announcement about Zen writing, and there it was. So I thought that was beautiful. These are instructions from Dogen about meditation, and I thought we would read this and then we'll meditate for 5 minutes. And I apologize to Mason because he wanted to meditate for longer, but Mason, you have the rest of your life. Okay, we need new people to read.
So Rosemary, Richie, and Mason.
Dogen lived, I think, from 1100 to 1153. So this is ancient stuff and very, very beautiful and very much to the point. And think about, as you read it, think about what Flint liked to say. How simple can you let this be? And that's, Dogen kind of does that. Makes it as simple as possible. Okay.
Fukan Zazengi, universally recommended instructions for Zazen. The way is originally perfect and all-pervading. How could it be contingent on practice and realization? The true vehicle is self-sufficient. What need is there for special effort? Indeed, the whole body is free from dust. Who could believe in a means to brush it clean? It is never apart from this very place. What is the use of traveling around to practice? And yet, if there is a hair's breadth deviation, it is like the gap between heaven and earth. If the least like or dislike arises, the mind is lost in confusion. Suppose you are confident in your understanding and rich in enlightenment, gaining the wisdom that knows at a glance, attaining the way and clarifying the mind, arousing an aspiration to reach for the heavens. You are playing in the interest way, but you are still short of the vital path of emancipation.
Here
we go.
You
Consider the Buddha. Although he was wise at birth, the traces of his 6 years of upright sitting can yet be seen. As for Bodhidharma, although he had received the mind seal, his 9 years of facing the wall is celebrated still. If even the ancient sages were like this, how can we today dispense with wholehearted practice? Therefore, put aside the intellectual practice of investigating words and chasing phrases, and learn to take the backward step that turns the light and shines it inward. Body and mind of themselves will drop away, and your original face will manifest. If you want to realize such, get to work on such right now.
For practicing Zen, a quiet room is suitable. Eat and drink moderately. Put aside all involvements and suspend all affairs. Do not think good or bad. Do not judge true or false. Give up the operations of mind, intellect, and consciousness. Stop measuring with thoughts, ideas, and views. Have no designs on becoming a Buddha. How could that be limited to sitting or lying down?
So
I think it could even be have no designs on being other than who you are. You know, to me, I get that message. And I need to be reminded every day of this stuff. Okay.
Becky, Claudine, and then Jessica.
I already read one.
Oh, did you? All right, Jessica and Becky. No, you're Becky again. Jessica next then. And then Claudine.
Are we just reading this last paragraph here?
Yes,
Okay.
there's more paragraphs after this.
Okay. At your sitting place, spread out a thick mat and put a cushion on it. Sit either in the full lotus or half lotus position. In the full lotus position, first place your right foot onto your left thigh and then your left foot onto your right thigh. In the half lotus, simply place your left foot on your right thigh. Tie your robes loosely and arrange them neatly. Then place your right hand on your left leg and your left hand on your right palm, thumb tips touching lightly touching. Straighten your body and sit upright, leaning neither left nor right, neither forward nor backward. Align your ears with your shoulders and your nose with your navel. Rest the tip of your tongue against the front of the roof of your mouth with teeth together and lips shut. Always keep your eyes open and breathe softly through your nose.
Once you have adjusted your posture, take a breath and exhale fully. Rock your body right and left and settle into steady, immovable sitting. Think of not thinking. Not thinking. What kind of thinking is that? Not thinking. This is the essential art of Zazen.
We have Leslie.
The Zazen I speak of is not meditation practice. It is simply the Dharma gate of joyful ease, practice of realization of totally culminated enlightenment. It is the koan realized. Traps and snares can never reach it. If you grasp the point, you are like a dragon gaining the water, like a tiger taking to the mountains, for you must know that the true Dharma appears of itself, so that from the start, dullness and distraction are struck aside.
And then we have Becky, Elizabeth, and Leslie. Oh no, Leslie's just gone. I'm doing that. You sack me, Kim. So, Lisa.
When you arise, am I unmuted? Okay. When you arise from sitting, move slowly and quietly, calmly and deliberately. Do not rise suddenly or abruptly. In surveying the past, we find that transcendence of both mundane and sacred, and dying while either sitting or standing, have all depended entirely on the power of Zazen.
So he's connecting this to the rest of life, isn't he? And not just when you rise suddenly from Zazen, but when you move from one thing to another. Don't do it suddenly or abruptly. You know, like when you get up from the dinner table. Okay.
In addition, triggering awakening with a finger, a banner, a needle, or a mallet, and affecting realization with a whisk, a fist, a staff, or a shout. These cannot be understood by discriminative thinking, much less can they be known through the practice of supernatural power. They must represent conduct beyond seeing and hearing. Are they not a standard prior to knowledge and views?
This being the case, intelligence or lack of it is not an issue. Make no distinction between the dull and the sharp-witted. If you concentrate your effort single-mindedly, that it in itself is wholeheartedly engaging the way.
So remember this, how simple can you let this be? He keeps going back and back to that most simple thing. You know, you're no other than who you are, and this practice is just a matter of not thinking. and not getting up quickly. Okay.
Rosemary, Richie, and then Mason.
Practice realization is naturally undefiled. Going forward is, after all, an everyday affair. I'll go on.
Yeah, and doesn't that connect with what Suzuki Roshi was saying about the ordinary and the holy? It's an everyday.
In general, in our world and others, in both India and China, all equally hold the Buddha seal. While each lineage expresses its own style, they are all simply devoted to sitting, totally blocked in resolute stability. Although they say that there are 10,000 distinctions and 1,000 variations, they just wholeheartedly engage the way in Zazen. Why leave behind the seat in your own home to wander in vain through the dusty realms of other lands? If you make one misstep, you stumble past what is directly in front of you.
I love that line. Isn't that nice? A photographer that I loved and studied with a little, used to say, people go on vacations and forget to take themselves with them. And that's the same idea. You stumble in front of your, you step away from yourself.
You have gained the pivotal opportunity of human form. Do not pass your days and nights in vain. You are taking care of the essential activity of the Buddha way. Who would take wasteful delight in the spark from a flintstone? Besides, form and substance are like the dew on the grass. The fortunes of life, like a dart of lightning, emptied in an instant, vanished in a flash.
Please, honored followers of Zen, long accustomed to the groping for the elephant, do not doubt the true dragon. Devote your energies to the way of direct pointing at the real. Revere the one who has gone beyond learning and is free from effort. Accord with the enlightenment of all the Buddhas. Succeed to the samadhi of all the ancestors. Continue to live in such a way, and you will be such a person. The treasure store will open of itself, and you may enjoy it freely.
Okay, so let's sit for a few minutes, freely enjoying the treasure store. Maria, you want to mute us all? Except for the one who's going to ring the bell. So you can imagine this treasure store as being your best friend, but it's actually you. And not only someone who you really love, but someone who is incredibly wise and enlightened.
Kim,
But
I'm
how was that sitting to Dogen's instruction? Did that make any sense to you? Rosemarie's my favorite because she's shaking her head yes. No, was it?
Yeah,
Go
it
like
was,
this if it was. If it was. Go like this if it wasn't. Good, good, good. Okay, Jessica needs to leave. Oops, she did a chat. Thank you, Jessica, for being here. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much for offering this, Kim. It's been really rich and lovely.
And now we're going to go to a little bit about forms. So this is about manners in the Zendo. And let's again, different people read. And it will help all of us, including myself, how to manage going through the Zendo, getting to the cushion, sitting down, etc. So manners in the Zendo. Who's first, Maria?
Lisa, then Leslie, and Becky.
Okay.
In traditional monasteries, there's a building called the Monks' Hall, Sodo, in which practitioners sleep, eat, and practice Zazen together. In the Sodo, there is a platform called a tan, which is about 2 feet high. Each person has a space of 1 straw mat, tatami, on which to eat, sleep, and sit. Manjushri Bodhisattva, the symbol of wisdom, is enshrined in the center of the hall.
If you ever go to San Francisco, you can go to the San Francisco Zen Center, and they have this space where you sit. You're not sitting on the floor. And I suspect one of the reasons for it is in the winter, it would be very cold right on the floor. And so it's warmer there. But it's a different experience to sit up on that shelf. It's kind of like a shelf. Okay, next.
Zendo is a hall just for sitting practice. In that sense, it differs from the Soto, yet the same manners apply. Manners in the Zendo may vary in detail depending upon the monastery or temple. Receive and follow the instructions given at each place. Here, only the basic manners regarding Zazen are described.
So like at Appamada, we do both in the same room. And also at the Austin Zen Center, they do both at the same room. But traditionally, it's a different room for sitting and for service. And notice in the diagram that you're not passing in front of the altar. And when you do pass in front of the altar, you do a bow like this to acknowledge that you're doing that. Entering the Zendo.
Entering the Zendo, hold your hands in shashu position and step forward with your left foot at the left side of the entrance. When leaving the Zendo, step out with your right foot at the same side as the entrance. Only the abbot of the monastery may enter the hall from the middle of the entrance.
Then we have Elizabeth, Leslie, and Rosemary.
After entering the hall, bow in gasho toward the altar and go to your seat. As a sign of respect, you should refrain from walking in front of the statue of Manjushri Bodhisattva. Rather, you should walk around behind the image. When walking, keep your hands in the shasho position.
Arriving at your seat. Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah.
Arriving at your seat. When you arrive at your seat, face the seat and bow in gasho. This is a greeting to the people who are about to do Zazen with you at the seats on either side of you. The people sitting next to you also bow. This is called Rinimanjin. Then turn around to the right until your seat is.
So I just want to say one little thing about this. If there's someone like 4 seats down, but no one in between you and them, you would still bow to them when they come and sit down.
Behind you and bow again to those sitting at the opposite side of the hall. This is a greeting to the people across the hall and is referred to as Taiza Manjin.
And you don't really look at them when you bow to them, but you see them. You know what I mean? You don't like go like that. It's okay. Go on.
Rosemary next.
Sit down on your zafu, turn around to the right, and sit facing the wall. In the soto, there is a wooden meal board, joan, at the edge of the platform tan, on which bowls are set during meals. Do not place your buttocks or feet on the joan.
Richie and then Mason.
The bell. The bell is rung to signal the beginning and end of Zazen. When Zazen begins, the bell is rung 3 times, Shijoshu. When Kinhin begins, the bell is rung twice, Kinhin sho, that's it. And when Kinhin is finished, the bell is rung once, Chukai sho. Also, when Zazen is finished, the bell is rung once, Hozon sho.
So 3 to start, 1 to finish, unless it's kinhin, and then you do 2 to start and 1 to finish.
Finishing Zazen. When the bell is rung twice to signal kinhin, or once to signal the end of Zazen, relax your body as explained above and get down from the tan. Face the seat and adjust the shape of your zafu. Then bow toward your seat. Next, turning around to the right, bow to the people on the opposite side as you did before sitting.
And then we have Lisa and Claudine.
There is no kinhin. Leave your seat and walk to the entrance of the hall with your hands in the shashu position. Bow in gasho toward Manjushri Bodhisattva and leave the hall. Step out with your right foot this time. When you do kinhin, start to do it right away. Keep an equal distance between you and the people behind and in front of you. At the end of kinhin, the bell is rung once. Stop and bow in shashu. Then walk at a normal pace, following the person in front of you. Walk around the hall until you return to your seat. At this point, you may go to the toilet if you wish. The next period of Zazen will begin shortly.
And this stuff is great to know because all of you live somewhere where there's a place you can practice, hopefully. And this will, be enough where you can do it without embarrassing yourself.
The Kiyosaku is a wooden stick with which in a sense, the human representative and Manusri Bodhisattva.
I think it's in which there is in a sense or something. Something.
Shall I try again? Because it was
Okay.
full of complicated words. The Kiyosaku is a wooden stick with which in a sense, the human representative of Manusri Bodhisattva, Jikido, wakes people when they fall asleep or when their minds are busy. If you want to be struck with the Kiyosaku, signal with gasho and wait. When the Jikido sets a stick on your right shoulder, lower your head to the left. This is to avoid being hit on the ear and to make it easier to hit the shoulder muscles. Continue to gasho. After the Jikido hits your shoulder, straighten your head again and bow. The Jikido also bows to you as he or she stands behind you, holding the stick with both hands.
So you know that he's just hit the person next to you, and that's the point where you would go like this and say, "Please hit me now." And it feels amazing. It just kind of ripples through your body. It's a place between your backbone and your shoulder, I guess, but all the way down. Okay, position of the hands.
Becky and then Elizabeth. Oh, Becky, you're muted. Hang on, I'll unmute you. There you go.
Okay. Gaisho. Hold the palms and fingers of both hands together. Your arms should be slightly away from your chest. Your elbows should be extended outward from your side in a straight line parallel with the floor. The tips of your fingers should be approximately the same level as your nose. This is an expression of respect, faith, and devotion. Because the two hands, duality, are joined together, it expresses one mind.
Shashu, put the thumb of your left hand in the middle of the palm and make a fist around it. Place the fist in front of your chest. Cover the fist with your right hand. Keep your elbows away from your body, forming a straight line with both forearms.
Leslie and then Rosemary.
Prostrating.
Prostrating. Gotai Tochi. Stand upright and bow slightly in gasho from the waist. Then bend your knees until they touch the floor. Bend forward from the waist, touching the floor with your hands, palms up, forearms and forehead.
Keeping your palms level, raise them as high as your ears. Maintain this posture for a moment, bringing your hands back into gasho.
I think those are two important points that we see a lot of people raising it high, much higher than that, but just a little bit, and then holding it just a moment and then bringing it down.
Bringing your hands back into gasho, straighten up to a standing position and bow as before. Prostrating in this way 3 times is called sanpai. We do sanpai, for example, before and after chanting sutras. 5 parts of the body, gotai, refers to both knees, both elbows, and forehead, while toki means casting them to the ground. To realize that our practice is perfect just as it is, and each of you is perfect the way you are, and you can use a little improvement, Suzuki Roshi.
You know, we waste so much energy, including me, with our mistakes. Mm-hmm. And then beating ourselves up for our mistakes, which is even a bigger mistake than, like, I noticed when I've had a car accident. Everyone's had a car accident, right? No, oh, that's too bad. So anyway, so when you have a car accident, the worst part of it is beating yourself up for having the car accident, isn't it? So we can work on that. So we have 11 minutes. I'm wondering, before we go on, and we could spend the rest of the 11 minutes on this, if you'd like to ask any questions. Maybe someone has answers.
Can we be in gallery mode? I don't seem to have that available to me. Thank you.
That was a question. Great. Thank you.
I feel more enlightened.
Okay.
I have a question. I don't
Great.
know what kihin is.
Kinhin,
Yes, I don't know this
that's a
word.
walking meditation.
Oh, that's it. So thank you.
Yes, yes. And it's sometimes described as a transition between sitting on the cushion and the rest of life.
Mm.
And on Sunday morning, the first period, we do outdoor kinhin, which is fun.
Mm.
And we do 7 minutes of slow kinhin and then 3 minutes of fast kinhin. Some places just do fast kinhin, some places just do slow kinhin. What do you do, Maria?
Slow. We do
Only slow?
Yeah, and then we halfway through we ask people to do it more attentively, you know, more sort of with intention.
And it's like the fact that you're doing it with other people is an important part of it. One neat thing, kind of problem that occurs is someone's walking too fast or too slow. And what you try to do is maintain your distance between you and the next person and the next person. So if everyone does that, then everyone has equal space. It's a beautiful dance. Yes, yes.
I have a
Elizabeth.
question. So it feels like there's a lot of ritual in all those forms. Is that unique to San Francisco Zen Center, or is that like a standard forms practice?
Well, the fact that there's a lot of ritual is pretty common. What was interesting is 3 of us went to a Zen center for 10 days in Portland, Oregon, for like leaders in the Sangha or something. And one of the exercises we did was we tried to list the things that were common. So we had maybe 20 people there from 20 different temples. And what was common, and there were only like 2 things in common of all the things we did. So there's a lot of variety. It's kind of a koan. Why do we have so much ritual? And then there's these, I want to show you. I'm going to turn off my blur so you can see these. There's these books called the Buddhist Monastic Code 1 and 2, and each one is 628, 600 pages. So it's 1,200 pages of rules. And the Theravadins go by these books. And so you think that what you just saw was a lot of ritual. It was nothing compared with this. This is like everything from eating, going to the bathroom, walking, who can you sit next to, how long can you do this, how do you sleep? You know, it goes on and on and on. And it's kind of a koan, like why should you do this? And within all this regulation, there's a lot of individuality. I would have never thought that I'd be interested in anything touching this, because my parents always said, you know, our family is rank individualists. My parents never worked for anyone else. And some people have a lot of trouble before they can do bows because they think that they're submitting to someone else. So this is all stuff to talk about and to deal with and to face. It's fascinating stuff, I think. And then I'm curious if even if you don't do Buddhism, if you just in your normal life have forms. In fact, I had an argument with someone at the Austin Zen Center, and I claimed that you know, everything we do has forms. And And then he didn't come back for a year after we had the argument. And then he came back and we talked a little bit more about it. And he agreed with me. And then he never came back again.
It's so true though, isn't it? We all have forms. I mean, even if it's the way we put our clothes away, you know, the way we get up in the morning, you know, the routine and the format in which we do that in. I thought it was good when Flint said, you know, we can't really tell the difference between us until you get us all to do exactly the same thing. And then you see all the differences coming out in how people are.
And that was Suzuki Roshi's comment about the hippies. They all thought they were individuals, and yet they're all, you know, you see, you know, everyone with long hair and wearing the same clothes, and they all think that they're unique. But, you know, if you took away anything from today, it would be that, you know, getting up kind of with that gentle calmness, taking your time, you know, that form seems to override all the other forms, like raising your hands up and just for a moment holding them there rather than going like that.
It makes such a huge difference, doesn't it? Because all the forms slow us down and make us aware of our environment, of our body, of what we're doing, so that we can catch up with ourselves and the moment rather than just be rushing through everything.
And I like that expression, catch up with ourselves. And we know that how much it affects our body and how much our body has to regulate when we're not slowing down. Well, you speed up. And Mason will tell us that it causes a lot of problems in people, right, Mason? When they don't slow down.
So what you said, Kim, the transition from Zazen to, you know, when it's over, and then keeping those transitions in your life and everything that you do, taking care with the transition from, you know, getting up from bed to standing up, and the other was the pause with the bow. It's all about pause, it seems.
It's all about pauses. Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it.
It seems to me there is a risk, though, about the things that we incorporate in a formal and ongoing way, which is that it begins with something that will remind us of something. And then what we often, and I'm including myself when I've done it with various things, what we often do is we find that what we're doing then is doing all of those steps, and that's what we're thinking about, is making sure we're doing the steps. So it gets lost again, because it really is just a routine that you do rather than something that you can necessarily call on to remind you how deeply to feel what it is that we're doing.
Great, another Becky Dharma talk.
But that's why we're doing it intentionally and mindfully and in the moment. It's kind of not just doing the forms, we're embodying them. We're being present with them.
That's the most important thing, I think, and not to drown in it. You know, that's the sense I have in the koan that I've been working with, where the monks drown in the Dharma. And I've seen that. I mean, it seems like I believe I've seen that at temples where people are so caught up in the forms that they're not thinking about, they're not being present.
Thus the stick.
Well, I had no stick.
Thus the stick.
What do you mean the stick? Okay.
So when they were hitting people if they're not in the moment.
Oh, it's used for that reason too. Yeah, what you saw, the description you saw was where we choose to do that. But sometimes in Rinzai temples, someone will come around and do it without you doing it, which I was, the first time it was done to me, I was really shocked because it made so much noise. And so I kind of said something, you know, like, oh, or something like that. But I didn't expect that it would be like a big bang. And that was surprising.
But don't they say if you're not in the moment and you're not present, then you're not going to hear the person coming over. You're not going to, you know, it's going to be a shock. The stick's going to be a shock. Whereas if you're completely in the moment and present, it's not a shock, so you won't have a reaction.
It's funny because I was a teacher and I didn't use a stick, surely not. But it clarifies some things that I did each time I entered the class. In Switzerland, it was like that. The students were staying in their class and each specialist teacher, one for French or math and so on, came to the class and gave the lesson. And the students had to stand up and to calm down, and then the teacher would say, sit down, and we begin the lesson. And I remember that sometimes I waited until everybody was really calming down. And sometimes one was talking to the next, or just keeping a book out of its bag or things like that. That was waiting. And I discussed with them why I was doing that. And I realize now that I was helping them to get centered so that they would be ready to work. And it was not a kind of respect for me or whatever, just to get present and centered again to our thing. And it's exactly the same intention.
Yeah, or like people who say a prayer before they eat has that function. Like you slow down and you know, you might be at the dinner table, but you're still like running, you know, or sometimes we speed and run and drive to the temple and you know, never get a chance to really go through the door. You know, we're physically through the door, but not mentally. And so it's really nice to slow down. So may everyone slow. Our time is up. And there's a whole part that we didn't do that maybe we can do next week after sitting. It's a chant that I wanted to talk about.
Well, and once again, the
Oh, and so
opportunity to say
Richie,
happy birthday,
it's
Richie.
about preferences. So that was for you, but it will be next week, a delayed birthday present. So this is Richie's birthday today.
Happy
And also
birthday.
wish him luck because he has a project due tomorrow for school.
Oh, good luck, Richie. Good
Good
luck.
luck. Happy birthday.
Or did you do it yet?
No, I don't know yet. No.
Oh, okay.
I've been working on it today, but just
Okay.
sitting with you guys for a bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it's been
thank you
lovely.
so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
Kim.
Kim. Yeah, thanks.
This has really been a
Kim.
joy.
Thank you, Kim.
For us
Yes.
too. Oops, hi.
Lovely
Have
to
a quick-
see you twice, Richie, on your birthday.
Lovely for me as well. It's lovely to see
Hey,
you.
you can come tonight at 7.
Probably be asleep
I might
by
actually
then.
be up at that time because might have to do an all-nighter on this.
Oh,
But yeah, I'll see.
So, Richie, I light a candle for you here in my
oh,
house.
great. Look at that.
Cheers.
Oh,
Yay.
Thank you.
Oh,
for
Kim,
joy and peace for every day of this coming year of your life.
You too, Claudine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.